Okay, so I go live on YouTube. We're good to go.
Good to go. Hey everyone, welcome to the Injective YouTube live stream. My name is Hannah and I'm part of the Injective Protocol team. Today we've invited Conflux co-founder Yuan and Fantom head of marketing Simone and Injective co-founder Eric. So thanks for being here with us today, guys. Let's kick things off by having each of our guests introduce themselves. We'll start with you, Yuan, and then move to Simone and Eric.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. Hi, this is Yuan, Forgiven from Conflux. So I'm the co-founder at Conflux. I'm in charge of the non-technical side, mainly operations, ecosystems. I used to be a financial expert, so I did fundraising for the project. So as the public chain has launched, now I'm looking for all the DeFi or NFT developers over the world. So feel free to ping me. That's it. Thanks.
Cool. Nice to meet you guys, and thank you for having us. So my name is Simone. I'm the head of marketing at Fantom. I've been working with Fantom as an official team member for more than a year right now, but I've been following the project since the beginning. So I know Michael Chen, the CMO, since 2017, and we've always been in touch. And then at the end of 2019, Andre brought me in the team because of my experience in advertising. I had 15 years in advertising, so there was something that was needed back then at Fantom. And yeah, very excited to about this podcast, about the conversation that we're going to have.
Hey guys, this is Eric from Injective Protocol. So Injective is a fully decentralized derivatives exchange built on top of Cosmos and Ethereum. And I'm the co-founder and CEO. Really excited to be here with you guys.
Thanks, everyone. So all of you are helping to further expand the reach of the DeFi sector. What are some steps that your projects are taking to build out the ecosystem and increase further adoption of DeFi? And which categories would you say will drive further adoption? Yuan, we can start with you again.
Okay, thanks. I would say we have done something, I think, make this world a little bit better and friendlier to the users. So we have done something to optimize the user experience in terms of like gas fee. So we have a kind of a sponsor system, so people doesn't have to pay, user doesn't have to pay gas, but it allows other people to pay gas for the contract. So anybody can sponsor the contract, the developers or the sponsor, let's say the Conflux Foundation. So the users can save their efforts buying Conflux token itself to use DeFis or DApps on Conflux. That's one thing. Other things including like security optimization, that we have a re-entrancy patch, means generally you won't have re-entrancy problems on Conflux. So there's not that many flash tags. Other things I think which can help like DeFi players is introduce more assets into the blockchains. That's the ingredients they can cook. So I think RMB stablecoins are one direction we are working on, given Conflux has a very good relationship with the China government, especially the Shanghai government. Conflux probably the only public chain protocol has been sponsored by the government so far. Other things, I think Bitcoins has still been utilized in the DeFi world. That's another front of efforts we've been exploring into, given China has so many Bitcoin miners. They're undereducated. So we try to bring them into the DeFi world. In terms of directions, I think there's a lot of things to further explore in the trading areas, especially in the permissionless place. I mean, we just saw Uni V3 has coming up. They have a lot of innovations. I think there's a lot of things in the leverage and derivative space. So we will see. Another direction is definitely the degen DeFi. Well, although degen DeFi doesn't, have been a sustainable things for the space, but it always encourages people to play risky games and attract a lot more people coming into the games. So yeah, that's the two directions I think will be fun. Thanks.
Cool. I'll go next. So to divide the answer in two. So the first question is, what are the steps that we're taking to increase the adoption of DeFi? So I think I can probably list 3 things that Fantom is working actively on, and the first one being integrations. So Fantom is fully EVM compatible, which means that anything that runs on Ethereum can also run on Fantom, and in a much smoother way because of the way that Fantom is built. We're going to talk about that later. But so integration is definitely something that we're working on very hard, and that would link to the second point, which is user experience. User experience in a broader sense, because so on one hand, deploying the same protocols and the same dApps that are already on Ethereum. For example, we deployed, the developers, the respective developers deployed SushiSwap on Fantom. They deployed Cream, they deployed Curve. So from a user experience standpoint, there's no new learning to do from the users. So people that are already familiar using those tools on Ethereum can just go on Fantom and they already know what to do. And to add to that, of course, using Fantom there allows these users to further enhance their user experience, because the fees and the speed of Fantom are very different from what they were used to on Ethereum. And lastly, the last point regarding what Fantom is doing to sort of further the expansion of DeFi is the cross-chain interoperability. Andre worked on a fantastic bridge between Ethereum and a lot of other chains that is called multichain.xyz. And that's awesome, right? Because before that, there wasn't really, there is Ren that is doing something similar. We previously had a custom bridge, but had some issues. So I really think cross-chain interoperability is definitely something that will expand the DeFi ecosystem. And let's keep in mind that DeFi is something that really, really started being popular and used, so to speak, just a year ago. And the second question, the second part of the question is, which categories do we believe that will drive further adoption? And I tend to agree with Johan to a certain stage. It's yield, right? Anything that generates yield will drive adoption, because it makes some people money. Of course, some people will lose money with the sort of degen farming or degen DeFi that you were referencing to before, but that's totally true, right? If there's opportunities to make money in a different way than before, people will come. And in crypto, we saw these very, very high returns, partly because, of course, that's how the protocols are built, but also because there's no middleman taking the cut. So in the real world, we always see very small returns on, for example, on saving accounts or that kind of stuff. And that's because, there's a lot of middlemen that take their fees in between. And in DeFi, that doesn't happen. And lastly, well, I think that lending and borrowing in general is something that is huge, and especially once we're gonna see under collateralized loans that hopefully will come soon. I really think we will see another sort of big paradigm shift in that sense as well.
Yeah. So for Injective, it's obviously like a slightly different case, because we kind of built the chain around for DeFi applications. We're almost like a single application-specific chain, built specifically, first of all, on derivatives, and slowly expand towards the greater DeFi ecosystem. So, a lot of our design considerations has been around the ease of developer friendliness by integrating with EVM, which actually I believe we're the first one to do for any of the Cosmos native projects. And also, really pioneering and contributing to the bridge that connects, Ethereum to the greater Cosmos ecosystem. So, so I think Injective is really a Cosmos project that loves Ethereum to a crazy extent. And I think that's something that's always going to sit in a special place within us because, we have this really robust order book infrastructure that kind of takes another form for any type of resting limit orders on the order book. And I'm extremely excited about all the innovation that could happen within that layer. But I'm equally as excited about, by having the EVM layer, by basically making it as seamless as possible for people to bridge over the asset, what's going to happen, and what's going for the cross-chain approach as well, connecting to, let's say, Fantom, to Conflux, to BSC, and multiple other projects. Kind of what are some of the sparks and what are some of the chemical reaction that could happen from all those connections.
As Layer 1 protocols, both Conflux and Fantom share similar core values with Injective to deliver secure, decentralized, scalable technologies to all users. Could you help provide an overview of your own unique Layer 1 structures and tell us a bit more about how they fit into the overall growing Layer 1 space? Simone, we can start with you this time.
Sounds good. So, okay. I will do a very non-technical explanation of what Fantom is. I think it's going to be easier for everyone to understand. So Fantom is a smart contract platform built on an ABFT consensus. Without going again into technical details, these ABFT consensus allows for extremely fast speed for transactions. They're confirmed in 1 to 2 seconds. As well as very low fees. And we're talking currently a fraction of a cent. Of course, if the token price appreciates, the fees will go up a little bit, as similar as we've seen on Ethereum, but we're still talking a lot of order of magnitudes less than Ethereum. So we're still talking fraction of a cent or, a couple of cents maximum. And as I mentioned before, Fantom is fully EVM compatible. So again, anything that is deployed on Ethereum can work on Fantom, and it's super easy, super fast, and super cheap to deploy. To the extent that actually some developers could also use it as a sort of staging environment before deploying on Ethereum, but they might also realize that once they use Fantom, maybe for what they're doing, it's not necessary to go back to Ethereum. There's a couple of projects that I know that are building exclusively and specifically on Fantom for these reasons. And to sum it up, I mean, whenever a DApp needs fast transactions and very low speed, it's something that is not achievable at the moment on Ethereum unless using a layer 2, but at the point, why not using Fantom that as a layer 2, but it's also layer 1 with all the benefits that the layer 1 comes with, first and foremost being its own security that does not depend on the security on the other chain. Besides that, Ethereum has Fantom has a very advanced on-chain governance, which is something that not many other layer 1 have at the moment. And it's pretty amazing what the developers did because the governance allows for complex decision. It's not just a yes or a no, and it's not just limited to a couple of options. It can be a list of different options for each proposal, and users can express their level of agreement on each option independently. And that really gives a very, very broad range of color, so to speak, regarding the decisions of governance. Then, of course, there are staking rewards because it's a proof of stake system. And the cool thing about staking rewards is that users can actually decide how long to lock their FTM to, and based on that, they will get more or less Fantom, of course, Fantom staking rewards. Of course, the less they stake, the less rewards they get, the longer they lock it up for, the higher the rewards. And lastly, actually, this is something that is super cool again. It's liquid staking that, again, for the first time on Layer-1, I believe, users on Fantom can sort of unlock their liquidity that generally is locked into staking, but with liquid staking, they can actually mint a synthetic asset that is called SFTM, and they can use that as a collateral for the DeFi part of Fantom. So that's super interesting, and that's a very high-level overview and of Fantom. One last thing that I want to mention is that besides this on-chain stuff that we're working on, we're also very active on real-world projects, and we have several pilot programs for the digitization of governments projects in the Middle East. And that's super, super interesting because for the first time, well, not for the first time, but one of the very first cases where we see blockchain technology applied in the real world, and for sure, the very first of an ABFT consensus with, again, all the benefits that it brings, such as the speed and the low fees applied in real world use cases.
Okay, my turn. Okay, thanks. Can I share a screen though? Can I try?
Yeah, I believe so. Go for it.
Cool. Okay. Okay, I'll share a screen later on. So Conflux has innovated a consensus called tree graph while it's remaining pure proof of work protocol. So compared to Nakamoto consensus, which is simply put a longest chain consensus, tree graph will have like concurrent blocks mined in the system to form a DAG structure and a unique sequencing algorithm of the block order. So I'll share screen to let everyone take a look at it. So host disabled screen sharing. Can host allow me to share screen for a little bit? Thanks. Share. System performance. Okay, how can I share accessibility? General. Oh, why can't I share? Let me share again. Desktop, share. Somehow I can't share. So if you can, please go to confluxscan.io and click confluxscan.io to click the blocks page, the blocks blockchain type, and there is drop down blocks and transactions. You will see the chart that the blocks is generating in the systems, and they are like generating the blocks along the pivot chain. So it's like the sub trees, and then they have the parent edge and reference edge to link those concurrent blocks generated in the system back to the pivot chain. So which allow the system to generate blocks at a very fast speed. So with that consensus, Conflux systems will allow like miners to generate 2 blocks per second on average. So that bring the throughput to up to over 3,000 transactions per second, while you can confirming the transactions within 23 seconds. Okay, so well, it's still a pure proof of work protocol. So that's probably, it's far beyond any POW-based protocol can reach at this moment. So 3,000 transactions per second, that probably means the level of a Visa network processing capability. Okay. So it's so fast. It's even, and also it's EVM compatible. So to give you an example, which is kind of funny, how fast that is, that there's a kind of a lending and borrowing protocol called Flux on Conflux. You can go to like flux.01 finance to try it out. And the funny thing about it is when people trying to repay their borrowings, they generally have to pay twice. And people ask why do I have to pay twice to clear all my debt? And the developer figure out it's because Conflux generate blocks too fast, and the blocks generate even faster than the speed you click on the pay button. So when you click the pay button, you generate a few more blocks, then you accumulate a little bit interest. That's why you have to generally have to pay twice to clear out all the debts. But they're gonna make some improvements on that. So that's like how fast Conflux generating blocks. So like Conflux is also EVM compatible. I also mentioned that people can sponsor gas fees for users. So user doesn't have to have Conflux tokens to use the DeFis or DApps. Also, like Simon said, Conflux has that DAO governance systems where people can stake their tokens, where they have a 4% annualized yield, where you can pull together directly on top of it. Once people stake their tokens, they can lock their tokens to win votes powers if they decided to lock over a period of time. So they can decide on like major things. So we already have governance votes like mining adjustment of mining supplies, burning tokens of Genesis supply to make sure there's not oversupply of the whole circulations. In the futures, we also have this on the roadmap. We will have people who have staked their tokens to become kind of a POS alliance to decide to bring finality to the system. So even people have over 51% of the hash rate in the network, they can't break the finality from a very long time ago, because the current hash rate of Conflux is not as high as Ethereum or Bitcoins. But if there is already DeFi and assets start to happen, and if that long range attack could happen, but that like POS finality could bring more security to this POW based chain. So that's something we work on as well. Yeah, so that's kind of a high level summaries. Sorry, I'm not a technical person. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, guys. Simone, Fantom's partnership with Injective also unlocks new opportunities for creating new forms of derivatives that are based on synthetic assets created by Fantom. The sector of synthetic assets holds tremendous potential still, but that is currently unrealized. What issues do you think remain in the sector, and how can this particular integration add value or resolve some of these issues?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first thing, so I'm looking at your website, and it's amazing because it really, I think the key word here is unlimited financial markets, right? So the derivatives market is huge, and pretty much everything that has a price can be traded. So I would say as the main issue, it's once again it's twofolded. And it can be on one side, the education, meaning that people just don't know about it, don't know about derivatives, they don't know about that they can trade on pretty much anything that has a price feed, and with everything that comes after it, right? And on the other hand is the user experience. So right now, again, not trying to pick on Ethereum, but unfortunately that's the reference of user experience that we have right now, is that it's extremely complex to access these tools. It's complex both from a technical standpoint, but also from a purely experience standpoint. So, all those, the time and the fees that users have to waste to interact with these. So I think once this stuff, so trading in general, or borrowing, lending, or even more so specifically trading of synthetic assets becomes as easy as, let's say, using Instagram or placing an order on Amazon, then we have a winner. And I think that's where we should aim to, because ultimately that's what we want. It might not happen tomorrow, it might not happen in a month, but that's ideally the goal that we'd all aim to achieve. Now, synthetic assets are pretty are very, very interesting tools. They have some unique characteristics, such as they don't necessarily suffer slippage or very limited. They have no liquidity issues. For example, if we take synthetics, that's how it's built. And since can also be easily integrated in existing products, meaning that users of those products, for example, in Fantom Finance, which is the Fantom all-in-one DeFi suite, which is integrated in the Fantom wallet, meaning that users will be able to access price exposure to, let's say, Bitcoin or gold or oil or corn or really strawberries, really anything that we can think of that has a price in the real world, within, again, an interface, a product that they're already familiar with. And so we can make a differentiation here. So there are users or people that are, for example, interested in owning Bitcoin, and that's one category. And then we have other people that maybe are only interested in getting price exposure to Bitcoin. So they don't really need to own Bitcoin. They just need to have their price exposure. And that's where synths come in, because they allow these people to have their price exposure without necessarily owning the assets, which means that they don't need to go to an exchange, to a centralized exchange, such as Coinbase or Gemini or Binance or you name it. But they can get that same price exposure experience within a product, in my example, Fantom Finance, that they're already familiar with. So this again kind of closes the circle regarding the user experience point that actually I'm making since the beginning of the podcast. So if we make it easy for people to use something, then they will use it. If we integrate synthetics, in this specific case, in products that they're already familiar with, they will use it. Now, going to the last part of the question. So last year, when Andre had the idea of Fantom Finance, and Fantom Finance was this, again, all-in-one suite that would aggregate in only one place, synthetic trading, regular crypto assets trading, lending and borrowing, and minting. We kind of underestimated, of course, the amount of work that all these protocols take, and that we then pivoted to a different approach. So by opening the Fantom ecosystem to other chains and Ethereum specifically, but really anything that is EVM compatible, then we're integrating these products. And in the specific case, of course, you guys at Injective offer a much better product that we could ever do with the limited amount of time that we have to dedicate to synthetic assets, for example. Because, since and derivatives are your focus. At Fantom, we're actually focused on building the best environment possible to run such protocols and applications on top of it. But we would definitely not do as a good job as you guys or any other protocols that we're integrating in doing what you guys do best. So I'm really looking forward to what we can do with this partnership. And right now we have 19 synths on running on Fantom. Those are the native ones. but I'm very, very looking forward to see how we can integrate even more Injective and possibly also in the Fantom Finance suite, so that users have a direct outlet to Injective on Fantom.
Great, thank you so much. We're about halfway through our questions, so I think from here on out, if we could keep our answers to about a minute, minute and a half, then we can get through everything and still have a little time for discussion at the end. So this next question is for Eric. The full EVM compatibility of the Injective chain can enable a seamless integration with both Fantom and Conflux's ETH bridge moving forward. This specific design would bring many advantages. Can you talk more about the EVM support that we have? And it would be great to hear more about the Conflux integration, since the main focus of that there is to bridge over assets deployed on Conflux onto Injective's exchange to aid in the creation and trading of new derivative products.
Yeah, I think EVM compatibility is one of those things where we kind of went in a little bit more on the blind side, just thinking it's like, hey, like we're trying to build like a derivative protocol. Basically, it's a lot better fit for us to build an EVM layer with it to ensure composability with a greater DeFi ecosystem. But what ends up happening is that we found out there's a lot more really, really unique synergies and kind of like compatibility with a lot of things that kind of started coming up. For example, cross-chain compatibility, like building like extremely flexible bridges and making integration on cross-chain bridges, different new DeFi protocols and extremely interesting primitives, very, very seamless. I think that was that also came in mind when I was like talking to Anatoly about kind of like coming up with like a unified kind of like a bridge standard, so that like any project can bridge with another project that's layer 1 based in the most seamless way possible. So I think like that's the really exciting part, because we have the EVM layer, and that makes like bridging the Fantom a lot easier, bridging the Conflux a lot easier, and like if there's any new chain that want to bridge to us, they can basically deploy the same contract that they would have done for Ethereum on top of us, and probably run the relayer or the POA bridge in a very, very seamless way. So yeah, that's something I'm extremely excited about, because it started off as us trying to build like a very robust and really flexible infrastructure for kind of like a future-proof mechanism. But now it kind of becomes the case where that future-proof design choice really came in handy when we're seeing like a kind of like a cross-chain future, when we're seeing that Ethereum probably can't handle the load that's being done on them, and us really coming realizing the vision that like the future is cross-chain. It's not just not just sitting on Ethereum. It's just embedded on Ethereum. And another thing that's really interesting is that we start seeing a lot of layer 2 solutions coming out, a lot of projects trying to build on top of the layer 2 solution, and we notice that most of these layer 2 solutions do end up being pretty centralized but trustless in a sense. And I think like a lot of projects building on top of these L2 solutions are going to realize very soon that having that centralized choke point, even if it is trustless, it doesn't have the availability as like a decentralized infrastructure or like an L1 solution. So yeah, I think that's something that's always going to be pretty critical for the future of all of us.
Yuan, both Injective and Conflux have recently delved into the NFT sector. Conflux has recently launched the Global NFT Alliance and partnered with projects such as Dago and Non-Figibles as well. At Injective, we carried out the now famous, or maybe infamous, Burnt Banksy NFT initiative. What are some opportunities that your projects are exploring within NFTs, and where do you see this industry headed next?
Me first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So Conflux NFT definitely started with its Mimi, right? So the Mimi is holding in my hand. It's called Comfy Beaver. Comfy, it's a beaver. So it's modeled one of our co-founders. It's not me, okay? It's one co-founder whose head is even larger than me, okay? So he's a geeky hider, and as always with sleepy eyes. So this is where the first Conflux NFT project coming out. It's called Comfy City. And actually it's Conflux fans who used to sell Conflux hats or Conflux bags for making money. And then she loved, blank. She's a girl, so she liked blank box, which is very popular in China. There is a listing company called Pop Mart. So she combined that, blank box with like NFTs, and the blank box contain different types of this comfy beavers. It's actually, with true blank box. So that's like how like Conflux NFT starts. Okay, and then you have all those developers who develop mobile games in China started to develop NFTs on Conflux, like Dragon. They only have Chinese versions, so a lot of the foreign community members require an English one. They're gonna have one soon. And then you see like Moonswap, they start to have like an NFT space marketplace called NFT, like a Moon NFT. So it's actually Moonswap launched the NFT alliance, not Conflux. So they launched the alliance with Dagos, Flows, and OpenSea, all the other people. So Conflux is actually a member of that alliance. So for the possibilities of Conflux, because Conflux teams originates like from China. Well, now it's a global team, definitely. But it originates from China. So I believe we'll bring in more Eastern flavors of like NFTs, given, most of the arts, games, and collections are Western culture and ideology dominated. We will bring more like Eastern taste. So there will be games coming soon. The mechanism is designed very similar to Don't Buy Mimi. So you will have similar tokens to mint pineapple stuff, to like mint cards. But the cards, the characters will be mainly Asian gods of China, like Nuwa, who patched the whole of the sky, or Shen Nong, who is the patron of the agriculture, or or Gong Gong, who's the word of God, so something like that. So I'm very excited about that and I'm looking forward to it. So I hope you enjoy that on the coming NFT and Conflux too. Thanks.
Yeah, so for Injective, the initiative for Birdbex, it was a pretty interesting one because we kind of had this wild pitch from our friend who's anonymous right now about burning a Banksy, like turning it into an NFT, and basically it was an interesting project, and the team is pretty crazy in general, so we decided to back it, and I think the experience was interesting to say the least. But yeah, like in general, so for NFT, it's really like a unique. There's a lot of intricate relationship between the NFT space and the Injective team, and where we want to go later on. So the interesting part is that, first of all, like my co-founder Albert created like a standard called ERC 1178. It was adopted by Loom as well, which essentially allows for turning an NFT / ERC 721 into an ERC 20 token, and kind of like forward and backward composable with it. So that was something extremely interesting, and we actually started seeing that picking up steam as a result within the NFT space. Another thing is that for crypto in general, I think collectibles has always been kind of like the primitive motivation for it. For example, like a Mongox, it used to be like a Magic the Gathering online exchange. So people used to trade all those like Magic the Gathering cards, and I think it wasn't until later when it became like a Bitcoin exchange. And for myself, I always see like these collectibles coming into place, becoming more and more liquefied over time, and crypto is probably the best avenue to do so. For example, we see like centralized giants like StockX and stuff like that, essentially creating a market around it. But there are countless more efficient ways to do so. And especially with collectibles becoming more and more of a thing, I'm more than confident that, like the NFT space will be more and more liquid over time. And so, that's kind of what Injective is trying to do in the long run, beyond these NFT collaborations, beyond these initiatives that we backed. It's more about, kind of introducing liquidity, solving the shared mutable ledger problem, ensuring like a very smooth price discovery process for a lot of these NFTs. So I think, derivative is a great avenue to do that. And it's something that we're exploring really actively.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Simone, the Phantom Finance DeFi suite is quickly gaining more and more traction. Could you tell us a bit more about your work with SushiSwap and Cream as well?
Yeah, I'll be very quick on this one. So Sushi and Cream were deployed on Phantom in the past month or so, and Curve as well. That's another huge one that that needs to be mentioned for sure. And many others are in the works. Can't really say which ones, but you know, there's a lot of interest from Ethereum-based protocols to port over on Phantom. Now, speaking of Phantom Finance, I mentioned it before that we pivoted Phantom Finance to become an aggregator, sort of Zapper Fi-like. And I mentioned all the benefits earlier, but basically it will allow us to integrate protocols and dApps that people are already very familiar with, rather than learning new protocols, learning new new dApps. And and we're very much looking forward to it. Those integration will happen in the next 2 months, I believe. But in the meantime, of course, users can already use Sushi, Cream, Curve, and everything else that will be deployed on Phantom on their respective websites. Now, a short word about Sushi. We've actually seen a pretty significant increase of the usage of SushiSwap in the past week or so, because some unknown developers started deploying meme coins, and people, you know how it is, and people love that kind of stuff, and started trading immediately, and with all the benefits of Phantom. So trades are confirmed in a couple of seconds, and finally in a couple of seconds, and the cost of action of a cent. That's pretty much it. I've used SushiSwap on Phantom as well in the since it came out. I've used Cream and I've used Curve, and once again, it's very hard to go back to Ethereum once you try one of these high performance networks. And it's I sound like too much like focused on Phantom, of course, but I believe that the experience of Conflux is going to be very similar, as well as on other high performance chains such as Solana or others that Avalanche and so on.
Great, thanks, Simone. I think many individuals are looking to see more and more interoperable or cross-chain layer ones. Do you guys think that this is going to become the new norm? And are you guys taking steps to integrate with other ecosystems outside of just Ethereum? Yuan, we can start with you.
Oh, thanks. I think starting a bootstrap of a new public chain is very, very difficult. So, for DeFis or even for like NFT buyers, first you have to have people who is rich, right? Or people who have assets. For a new public chain, the only assets you have is probably your native tokens, right? And before you have a lot of like builders and residents, you definitely want some immigrants, right? If you want immigrants, then you got to build bridge. So like Fantom has done like multi-chain.xyz. We have a similar bridge called shuttleflow.io, where you can bridge Bitcoins and Ethereums and ERC20 tokens onto Conflux. Now we further expand bridges into other countries like Binance Smart Chain, and we will expand into more countries like Hackle Chains or OKX Chain, which is coming up, or maybe even into Phantoms. We can use both bridges like multi-chain.xyz or like shuttleflow.io. Or also we can, bridge our assets onto Injective. So Injective can enjoy the liquidity and assets coming from Conflux, or maybe like Phantom as well. So, and I believe the structure will be like, okay, there will be a kind of the layer one of the layer one, right? Probably it's Ethereum, right? All the large volume but doesn't request has a very speed demand will settle on Ethereum. And all like transactions, which is probably smaller value transactions, but request like high speed, will settle on other like layer 1, but also playing a part of the role of layer 2. And also that probably has some geography like preference, like Conflux probably initiate from China. It will influence countries around. And Fantom seems it has roots in Europe and also all over the world. So that's probably some other features we will see in the future. Okay, that's my thought. Thanks. That's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Okay, Simone, do you want to go next?
So Yuan, I actually love the countries analogy. It's very, very effective in this case. Yes, I mean, I believe that the future of crypto is multi-chain and cross-chain. It's a kind of a novel and new idea for people to digest, and it's very important that actually people understand that it's not, there's, at least I don't believe there's a winner. It's not going to be a winners take it all situation. So it doesn't mean if these alternative layer 1s will take anything away from each other's or from Ethereum. So to make a clear example, I don't think that if Fantom rises and we'll see more protocols, more dApps built onto it, it doesn't mean that other layer 1s will suffer. So it's ultimately, I think it's a win-win situation for everyone. And we are definitely not looking at the big picture yet of what can come in the future with all these multi-chain and cross-chain, especially once cross-chain liquidity will be a thing. Then we'll really see some really cool stuff. But yeah, absolutely, it's all about multi-chain and cross-chain, and it's literally just beginning right now.
Great. Well, thanks for all your answers today, guys. At this time, I think we have a few more minutes left, so I'd just like to open up the floor and maybe have you guys talk about anything else that we may have missed or that might be relevant to the community today. So anyone can take the lead if you'd like to do that.
Okay, let's talk about something. So going back to the NFTs, what do you guys think of NFTs right now? Because it seems like we're in a little bit of a bubble, but maybe not, because it's still something that it's at the beginning and we haven't seen the real potential of NFTs yet.
I mean, this is like bubble because bubble. Like it's kind of like the same thing as like tech in general. There are going to be times where people will think that it's overvalued, and there are times when people are going to think that it's undervalued, right? Who would have thought that a company could be worth $1 trillion 20 years ago? So no, I don't think it's like a bubble per se. I think it's just kind of like the early excitement around kind of like a new digital age almost. So people are, in some cases, overpaying for like individual NFTs. Like some of them like might seem ridiculous at first, but I think like the same thing goes to most of the collectibles. Like why would someone buy like a hoodie for $1,000, $20,000? Why would someone buy a doll for like $30,000? I think at the end of the day, it's not about especially for within the space of a collectible, which like it's purely like an emotional choice rather than like an investing choice. There might be profit-seeking actions, but it's not like you're not expecting value accrual from that work. You're not expecting anything to gain or like any like real cash flow to gain from that work. I think what you're really expecting at the end of the day is the prestige of it, like the emotional value of it, and I think that's very, very hard to put a price to it. I think right now there's a very strong narrative saying that you don't need 1,000 or 1,000,000 fans, you just need one true fan. And this speaks to the greater art world, where basically Damien Hirst got their start got to start from like a billionaire backer. For example, like his work. I forgot what it was called. It was like the physical impossibility of dead in the eyes of living or something like that. Basically, he put like a shark in a tank, and it was purchased by Steve Cohen for like a lot of money. And I think do you really think that that work is worth that much? Maybe, maybe not. But at the end of the day, it's not about like what we think. It's about what the purchaser the eyes of buyer thinks. And I don't think stuff like that could possibly be a bubble in a sense, because you're not issuing that to the general public. People aren't going crazy or like irrational over it. I think it's more it's meant to be emotional, and at the end of the day people are making that emotional choice to make the purchase.
Hello, I would like to share this is a very good question. I have some of my personal views on it. I'd like to share it. So maybe it's a bubble. Well, I would look at it as a different angles. I would say actually 99.9% of the NFTs are worth nothing still today. I mean, I just upload one of my joins on OpenSea and nobody's buying it. So I don't see any bubbles on my NFTs. Okay, maybe it's on Beeple's. Okay. So most of them are worthless. For the ones that we all consider are overpaid, I don't think they are actually buying arts or collections. I think they are. It's very different from traditional way of collections. It's actually buying. Sometimes I'm thinking they're buying marketings for themselves. It's actually about like social presence. So think about it. Like. So social presence is all we care by the several generations. People want to build their social status on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, maybe on Facebook, right? Maybe not Facebook. Facebook is more private and personal, okay? So generally, when people try to judge the price or value of an NFT, they will look at how many followers you have on Twitter, how many followers you have on Ins, right? And then once you buy the NFT created by that, like big KOLs and Twitters and Ins, and then you can start to show, show off, right? So give you an example, right? The FOMO king, like Justin Sun of Chuang, right? Why would he just start to get into the art space, start to buying Beeple's arts, right? Based on like the first 5,000 and the recent like the ocean one, joined by Beeple, right? He's trying to create this marketing campaigns for his Tron token, and people start buying his Tron tokens all again, right? So that's what he's buying. He's trying to show off, I'm rich, I'm successful, and because I founded Tron, so please buy Tron, right? So that's my thought on like NFT. It's not like, okay, this is something we paid for, like it's actually something we paid for marketing, pay for social status, for social presence. And I would say we will see like NFTs start to form on Instagrams and probably on TikToks, on Kuaishou, like the similar one that's second to TikTok in China. And maybe you see like NBA Top Shots is actually fans following NBA stars, and maybe you will see NFTs which will bought by fans following like pop stars very soon in China too, because like the fans here are crazy. So it's not about like people who is buying things they wish to sell to somebody else to take a profit, but it's more about buying something to show off their stuff. And one funny picture I saw recently is like a lot of people in the room, they're dancing to a music, like they're disco, but one guy is actually alone, like by himself in the corner and thinking, nobody's knowing that I'm owning the NFT of this song, which is very funny, right? It's all about like shell, right? If nobody know he owned the NFT of the song, that doesn't mean anything, okay? So that's my summary, thanks.
Yeah, really great insights from both actually, and really love that. So on one hand, we have the NFT as a social status, and on the other hand, we also have NFT as an emotional choice rather than a trading to make money necessarily. So it's very great stuff. Cool.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a wrap. So thanks to everyone for tuning in today. And thanks again to our amazing guests. We appreciate all your insights and look forward to keeping in touch.
Yep. Thanks, Hannah. Thanks, Iman. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you. Have a good one, guys. Thanks. Bye.